Welcome learners, we will discuss United Nations Sustainable Development Goal from an inclusive conspectus perspective. And the highlights will be to understand United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and what does it mean leaving no one behind LNOB, the integrated approaches, social and economic diversity, physical diversity, and a comprehensive framework for sustainable development goals. And last but not the least, India's SDG monitoring framework under the Niti Aayog. Now let us understand what Sustainable Development Goals means for. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDGs, represents a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure peace and prosperity for all by 2030. Yet, their transformative promise rests on the principle of leaving no one behind, LNOB, a commitment to equity, dignity, and inclusion across all societies. It also highlights three interlinked dimensions that are equity in access, structural transformation, accountability, and participation. Adopted by all 193 United Nations member states in September 2015 as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the SDGs are officially came into effect on 1st January 2016. They comprise total 17 goals backed by 169 specific targets and hundreds of indicators to track progress up to the year 2030. Unlike other traditional developmental strategies, the Sustainable Development Goals explicitly balance on three core dimensions of sustainability. 1. Social equity, 2. Economic growth, and 3. Environmental protection. And these are based on the 5 pillars, what it called 5Ps: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Now come to the specific Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 1, no poverty. Goal 2, zero hunger. Goal 3, good health and well-being. Goal 4, quality education. Goal 5, gender equality. Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. Goal 10, reduce inequality. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. Goal 13, climate action. Goal 14, life below the water. Goal 15, life on lands. Goal 16, peace, justice and strong institutions. And goal 17, partnership for the goals that we have mentioned above. Let us discuss specifically on the goal 4, that is quality education. It traces basically on ensure pre-primary education for all, technical, vocational and tertiary education, more qualified workforce, promote inclusion, achieve literacy and numeracy, barrier-free education facilities, scholarship for developing country and train teachers. And to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, we need to focus on providing access to quality education for all, ensuring that all students who have equal opportunity to succeed, and 3. Providing high quality education. Now come to the challenges and the barriers that came to achieving SDG 4, and this rests on lack of resources, gender inequality, poverty and conflict. Now the strategies, or what will be the strategies and best practices to mitigate these challenges? First, in teaching training, curriculum reforms, community engagement, technology integration, and best practices. And best practices means combining these all four strategies have to create a holistic framework to achieving SDG 4 that will emphasize inclusivity, innovation, and lifelong learning. Now come to the questions of what does it mean when we call leaving no one behind, LNOB. With the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, 193 United Nations member states have pledged to ensure no one will be left behind and to endeavor to reach the farthest behind first. In practice, this means that taking explicit action to end extreme poverty, curb inequalities, confront discrimination, and fast-track progress for the farthest behind. They have suggested 5 key factors. 1. Discrimination. 2. Geography, means who endures isolation. 3. Governance, means where do people face disadvantage. 4. Socioeconomic status. And 5. Shocks and fragility, means who is more vulnerable due to climate change, conflict, displacement, etc. And they have suggested an integrated approach that will combine, examine why people are left behind, empower those who are left behind, enact policies, laws, reforms, intervention to confront the dives that leave people behind across SDGs. When we come to the questions of understanding United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through the lens of socio-economic and physical diversity, we actually need to review the following section very carefully and briefly. 1. Social and economic diversity means marginalized communities, poverty and income inequalities. 2. Physical diversity means disability inclusion. And 3rd, a comprehensive framework, that is intersectionality. Now come to the questions of social and economic diversity, and for that we have to make a brief review on the Sustainable Development Report that is published by SDGs in 2024. And the report clearly shows that wealth connection and fiscal gaps remain major barrier to SDGs. Second, gender, ethnic, and disability-based discrimination persist, and there is a need for intersectional policy design under the SDG 5 and SDG 4 specifically. And the digital divide and the unequal access to healthcare and education demand universal social services and digital inclusion. Likewise, vulnerable communities face disproportionate climate shocks that will linking SDG 13 and SDG 16. Now we have to make a overview the India's SDGs performance in global context in 2025. In this scenario, India ranks approximately 112th among the 193 United Nations member states. It reflecting there is a need for gradual progress. Although notable achievement in education access like SDG 4 and governance reform in SDG 16. However, inequality that is SDG 10 and youth unemployment SDG 8 and climate vulnerability SDG 13 remain critical challenges in India. Now we have to brief Human Development Report published by the UNDP in 2025, and it shows that underscores a critical showdown in global progress that making the weakest pace of human development in 35 years. Secondly, a report titled A Matter of Choice, People and Possibilities in the Age of AI, it highlights a widening inequalities between high and low HDI countries and reversing decades of convergence. Although artificial intelligence emerged as both a potential catalyst and as a source of disruption. Now, let us brief the India's HDI performance in global context in 2025. Here, India ranks among the 193 countries with a Human Development Index HDI value of 0.685, placing it within the medium human development category. Though India's life expectancy has risen to 72 years, nearly matching the global means. Expected years of schooling have reached 13 and it's surpassing the world average of 12.5. However, inequality continues to reduce India's HDI by approximately 30%. Now come to the physical diversity, that is disability inclusion. It means here it breaks down the systematic barrier to education, that is goal number 4, and decent work, that is goal number 8, and accessible cities, that is goal 11. Here, United Nations Disability and Development Report 2025 shows that persons with disabilities make up 60% of the world population, and exclusion or underemployment or unemployment cost up to 7% of GDP. And it clearly shows a risk of digital exclusion in AI and technology, and disproportionate impact of climate change, displacement and other changes. Now we have to ensure adequate funding and strengthen partnership with the organizations of persons with disabilities, that is OPDS. Here, the India's disability inclusion performance in global context that was reported in 2025, the enactment of the Right of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and the Accessible India campaign with the major impact of Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, that is CRPD, make significant impact in this respect. Yet, labor force participation among persons with disabilities remained low, that is 36%. When you compare to the global, that is 50%. Now come to the comprehensive framework of intersectionality. The United Nations Sustainable Development Groups who propose leaving no one behind a operational guide, and it suggests a step-by-step framework designed to help the all United Nations country teams and governments to identify, analyze and address exclusion, and ensuring the 2030 agenda reaches the farthest behind first. It emphasizes evidence-based analysis, meaningful participation, accountability and integration into national planning. Here are the 5-step approach that they have suggested. First, to identify who is left behind. The second task is to why are they left behind. The third will be what should be done, and the fourth will be how to measure and monitor such progress, and the fifth and the least but not the least, how to advance accountability and integrate all these into various regional national planning schemes. Now come to the India's Sustainable Development Goals Monitoring Framework that run under the Niti Aayog, compatible with the global LNOB framework. Here, the Niti Aayog suggests 5 steps to follow. Step 1, disaggregate the data. Step 2, identify the left behind groups. Step 3, assess the causes and specify the vulnerabilities. And step 5, monitor progress reports and adapt according to this. Now come to the gaps and opportunities of India's monitoring framework. First, we have a gap and opportunity to improve insufficient sub-national data, lack of data frequency, gaps in vulnerable people identification process, methodological consistency, and limited community engagement. Now come to the concluding remarks. All the things that we have discussed, leaving no one behind, it's not just a policy at all. It is a promise that we make to each other in our daily lives. Every time a school opens its door to children with disabilities, every time a bus is made accessible for an elderly passengers, and every time a workplace welcomes someone who has long been excluded, we bring the Sustainable Development Goals clear to reality. If we make an image of Sustainable Development Goals, we can think of an inclusive society like a community garden. If some plants get water and others do not, only a few will grow. The SDGs make sure the soil, water and sunlight go to every single plant, not just the tall ones. Several core SDGs directly build an inclusive world such as quality education, that is SDG 4. It makes sure everyone get to go to school. This gives everyone a chance to learn, skill and get good jobs. Gender equality, that is SDG 5, it will also ensure women and girls who have the same right as men. It will empower them to become a leader. Then reduce inequalities, that is SDG 10. Here the goal is to focus on equal opportunities. It's made stop laws and habits that treat people differently based on race, gender, ability, etc. etc. Then peace and justice, that is SDG 16. These goals keep communities safe and fair. It makes sure that no one lives in fear. Therefore, we can conclude that the SDGs are essential to create an inclusive society in today's pluralist world by making that the true success of the 2030 agenda will be felt when ordinary people, regardless of their ability, gender, caste or place of birth, can say, I belong, I am included and I am not the left behind. Thank you.